All right. The time is now 6:04 p.m. and we will call this meeting to order. Miss Sheldon, can you please call the roll?
Mayor Stephanie Dalton.
Here.
Vice Mayor Holly Berry.
Here.
Commissioner Jamie Fairbanks Harvey.
Here.
Commissioner Terry Holmes.
Here.
Commissioner Hayes Wilkinson.
Here.
Thank you. For today's invocation, please join me in a moment of silence to reverently collect our thoughts, pray, and ready ourselves for this meeting and the duties to which we have been called. Okay, thank you. Please stand for the pledge. Mr. Branham, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first we have my mayor's report. Welcome everyone. Happy Pride Month. Be the Change Youth Initiative is asking everyone to join their donation challenge in support of the Red Bank Community Food Pantry. It's a really fun activity to do with your children, but adults can have fun with it too. The challenge is to buy as many food donation items as you can with $10 to $15, then post about it on social media and challenge 5 other friends or neighbors to join in. They even have an anonymous donor who is willing to match up to $500 in food donations. So we could all make a real difference in supporting our neighbors in need with $1,000 in food and monetary donations. The most needed items are 16-ounce plastic jars of peanut butter, canned tuna or chicken, single-serve applesauce or vegetables, canned soups or vegetables, peanut butter crackers, cheese snack crackers, fruit cups, pudding cups, Vienna sausages, small boxes of raisins, granola protein bars, and single-serve chips for cookies. The Han Me food truck is back in Red Bank this week. They're open through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. across from McDonald's at 2004 Dayton Boulevard. You can stop by or call in or text your order to 423-654-0541. And if you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check out the city's email newsletter that was sent out today. Commissioner Terry Holmes wrote a most informative piece on current and future planning efforts that I really hope you'll take the time to read. It was a good refresher even for me. Thank you for that. Happy summer break to all of our students. In case you missed it, there are a couple of free meal programs this summer available to children. Hamilton County Schools will be providing free lunch meals to all children aged 0 to 18. No documents required at the Orchard Knob Elementary Cafeteria at 2000 East 3rd Street. Adults pay $5 for a meal and all meals must be eaten on site. Any questions, please call 423-498-7371. And finally, the YMCA and CARTA have partnered to provide kids with free summer meals at multiple locations across the county, including lunch at Red Bank High School Monday through Thursday from 11:30 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. For more locations and schedules, please check out the pinned post that I have put on my Facebook page because it was not an easy URL to convey to the public. And that's it for me. Next, we have our Vice Mayor Berry's report.
Happy Pride Month, everyone. Next Tuesday, June 10th, White Oak Bicycle Co-op is hosting a bicycle rodeo at 9:30 a.m. at the new Red Bank Bicycle Traffic Garden at 4839 Dayton Boulevard, and that's next to Fire Station number 2. Next Friday, June 13th, is Food Truck Friday, followed by our second Saturday market on Unica Street from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And finally, the next Red Bank Food Pantry is this Thursday, June 5th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. at Red Bank United Methodist.
Thank you very much. Next, we have our report from Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey.
Thank you. Welcome this evening to your Red Bank Commission meeting. The Curb Vegetable and Fruit Market next to America's Garden on Dayton Boulevard North is open and available Tuesday through Saturday from 9 to 2 this summer. Go by and see what tempts your taste buds. I bought a huge cantaloupe. Congratulations, Chief Seymour, for your invitation to attend the FBI Academy this summer. What an honor, and we are proud of you. Oop, let me get my report. Food Truck Friday comes again June 13th and the 27th from 5:30 to 8:30 at the City Park across from Food City. Next Listen and Learn will be held Monday, June 16th from 6 to 7 at Sabor. Happy Father's Day to you dads on Sunday, June 15th. And I have received several encouraging comments from the active older adult participants who've enjoyed the painting classes and other classes. And thank you, Commissioner Holmes, for the planning oversight review that you did note in the newsletter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have our report from Commissioner Holmes.
It's lost. Okay. Good evening. Thank you for attending this meeting. I don't have much to report today, but when it gets hot, please help your neighbors with air conditioning and fans in the heat of the summer, or help them now in the rain. This is supposed to continue to rain this week. If you have a chance, when it does, and it is sunny, walk the boulevard and check out local businesses and post on social media if you have a positive experience. Go for a walk or hike in White Oak Park and check out the new rock climbing wall that is there for the children. Also research the website or rewatch previous meetings for budget questions, and check out this month's newsletter. And social media posts from the various departments, such as the fire department and police department. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. And finally, we have a report from Commissioner Wilkinson.
No report for me tonight, but thank you guys for coming out.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have the city manager's report. Mr. Granum.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Works has successfully replaced damaged guardrail throughout the city using the new on-call service agreement with Cadence Site Work, a local Red Bank company. Locations include Woodrow Avenue, Dayton Boulevard at Greenleaf, Dayton Boulevard in front of O'Reilly's, a section on Victoria Street, a section on West Newberry at the bridge over Stringer's Branch, and a section of Easton Avenue as you head out of town. Replacing these damaged guardrails not only improves safety, but beautifies the adjacent area and reflects a Public Works team actively serving the city. Well done, Public Works. Speaking of well done, the Public Works Department held their annual Employee Appreciation Banquet on the 19th of May. At the banquet, staff recognized Supervisor Ricky Reeves for his 33 plus years of service to the city of Red Bank. Ricky is preparing to retire at the end of the month. Ricky is profoundly appreciated and he will be missed. Interviews for his replacement are scheduled to take place later this week. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Granum, and thank you, Mr. Reeves, for your 33 years of service. Moving on to the next item, our consent agenda. Mr. Stoltz, we need to table one of the items. Do we need to pull that out and then do that?
Yes,
Okay,
that would be the better way.
okay. So I'm requesting to pull out item B, agenda item number 25-886. Appoint Tiffany Bell to the Red Bank Citizens Nonprofit Advisory Board. Would like to remove that from the consent agenda. We put it at the bottom and then we'll vote on it then to table it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other items requesting to be removed from the consent agenda? Okay. If not, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve as amended.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Vice Mayor Fairbanks Harvey. Do we have any discussion? Any comments by the residents present? If there are no comments, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item of business, unfinished business ordinance number 25-1281, an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30, 2026, second and final reading.
Thank you,
Mr. Kramer.
Mayor and Commissioners. CFO Chris Fickle and I are going to briefly go through the slides. They're essentially the same slide deck that we used at first reading, but we wanted to republish and include in the agenda because there's a lot of things going on with this budget, notably the reappraisal. And so it's worth stepping through. And I also wanted to point out, commissioners, that Chris and I put together a printed compilation of the total budget packet for you there. I find it's very useful throughout the year. And for those who don't have the printed version, everything about the budget is available on the budget website. So, and we'll get to that just a little bit here in our presentation. Let's see if I can get this to go. I might have to just move us forward, sorry.
They're not working.
Might be operator error. There we go, thank you. So, well, I mentioned the budget packet and where to find all that info. There's a hard copy for the commissioners and it's all available by clicking on the budget button on our city homepage. We will briefly cover the dates, remind ourselves of the appraisal year, talk about briefly the budget adoption process. It's always worthwhile to mention our mission, vision, and goals. Changes to this proposed budget and significant budget features, and wrap up with an eye on future budgets. Next slide, please. So just to skip over this fairly quickly, the FY26 budget packet can be found by hitting the budget button. You can also navigate through our departments, but the easiest way on the homepage is there's 9 new buttons, and one of them says budget. You click on that, it takes you right to it. Next slide, please. The dates, we began in the middle of April, and here we are on the 3rd of June, hitting all of our timeline marks for the second and final reading. If it passes tonight, it will be the FY26 adopted budget. A reminder, this is a reappraisal year. It's every 4th year. That is a complicated thing, and that requires us, because the timing doesn't work out, I'll skip down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th bullet. We anticipate, Yes, we anticipate notification of the certified tax rate anytime. But until we get that, we must wait the notification of the certified tax rate before the commission can formally adopt the tax rate. So we're adopting a budget that is not specific on the tax rate, and that's just in compliance with statute. The FY26 budget adoption process, it started with the comptroller's memo in the middle of February, and there's all the steps we went through. We had budget workshops, we had presentation and discussion of the city manager's budget estimate. We had an open discussion and work session. We've had a first reading, and here we are at the second reading. Upon adoption tonight, if it is adopted, the CFO will file it in accordance with the comptroller's format. And that is within a 15-day window, and it keeps us eligible for the comptroller's certificate of budget excellence. Always good to remind ourselves of the mission and vision and goals. Go ahead. The City of Red Bank is a safe and thriving small town community with an engaging, transparent government that builds on our rich history, provides excellent and efficient services, and welcomes all. The vision, which is a desired future state, Red Bank strives for a vibrant, growing, and inclusive community by pursuing excellence, enhancing safety, celebrating our neighborhood character, and stewarding our natural landscapes. And if I could just make a note, replacing bent guardrails is just an outstanding example of pursuing excellence. Our goals. From the 4th annual commission retreat held in February of this year and codified by resolution, develop a new land conversion agreement with TDEC and NPS. Staff are having ongoing conversations about how we double down our efforts on that. And that's championed by Mayor Dalton. Create priorities for safe streets, curtailing speeding, enhancing pedestrian walkability, and protected cycling routes. The champion is Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey. We've heard a lot about that this evening as well. No worries, I think it's on a timer. Launch strategic economic development efforts to attract investment, support local businesses, strengthen community prosperity. Lots of conversations at the staff and around the city about that. Implementation of the Parks Master Plan. I also met this morning with staff, and we're doubling down on that as well. Jeffrey Gravy has been in here. He has a 2-page front and back on how we're gonna operationalize the new park and rec master plan. Very exciting stuff. Low-cost activation of city property by making improvements. And Director Johnson was meeting on site with members of the Master Gardeners, talking about really cool ways to implement some low-cost activation of city property. Just really exciting stuff happening. Very intentional, very deliberate, very in alignment with commission established goals. Changes reflected in the FY26 proposed budget from where we started a couple of months ago. We have settled on a 2% COLA, and that is baked in to the budget. We have baked in a proposed increase in property tax revenue of 5%. And that would take us from $5.25 million to $5,512,500 in anticipated property tax revenue. That does foreshadow a property tax rate increase when the conversation comes to what is the property tax rate. And that will be some weeks away, possibly months away, but in the near term when the certified tax rate is made available. This 5% is based on the previous 2 years of realized inflation of 3% and 2% respectively. So the proposed property tax revenue increase is consistent with our inflation that we've experienced. Next slide, please. Significant features of the FY26 budget: staffing, services, borrowing, and excellence. And I'll touch on those briefly again. Staffing, we're really making 2 big moves. One is we're retaining our 26th sworn officer as the Violent Crime Incentive Fund grant expired in the current year. We are now picking up the full cost of that 26th officer in this budget, and that's a significant investment on the part of the city. The other one is we're converting a part-time position to a full-time position. And earlier this evening was comments voiced about the appreciation for the Active Older Adults program, and that is one of the key impact areas for this part-time position currently. 2 smaller, but nevertheless significant for the individuals involved and significant for the departments supported are elevating to office manager and executive office manager to existing employees. Next slide, please. In terms of services, there's really 3 significant areas that are different from the current year. Tax relief. For the first time ever, the city is proposing to match the county's portion of tax relief for approximately 138 Red Bank residents. And the bottom line is here, this is a hugely effective way to help people who are income limited stay in their homes. And this is highly touted by the county trustee, and he encouraged us to consider it, and this commission is picking up on his encouraging word and about to enact that. And that is really something we should be very, very pleased to be in a position to do, to help those in our community who need help to stay in their home. Caravan, we are now post-grant. This is the first year where we're receiving no federal assistance to implement car-to-pair transit in Red Bank, and that is a significant commitment for the city of Red Bank. And that translates into a budget of $30,000 to pick up the city's portion of that per trip cost. So there's really only 2 funding sources now. There's the fare collected and the city's matching contribution to make that trip. We have about 65 trips a month. A trip is one way, so a round trip is 2 trips. And those are largely for medical and indeed dialysis purposes. And then lastly, earlier this evening in work session, we talked about being data-driven and getting an on-call data analyst to assist all the departments in really dialing in on all the metadata that's out there. And we're not necessarily tapping into the best sources and not necessarily translating it and applying it to our municipal service delivery. So this is a bold move to help us be data-driven. Significant budget features. We do propose to take on debt, and we want to be very upfront about that. And it's basically for Public Works. It's the Public Works Department, but it's 3 separate funds throughout Public Works. It's general fund, it's stormwater, and it's solid waste. Next slide. Excellence. We are an employer of choice, and this budget would continue us in that strong position of attracting and retaining top talent, specifically with the 2% COLA. Costs and expenses are well managed. We are in alignment with commission goals. For more details about how we are going to accomplish those commission goals, I encourage everybody to read the department memos. In the budget packet, there's a memo from me and there's a memo from each of the 6 department directors. And that's really where there's dialogue about what the departments are doing. It's good reading. And then lastly, we're focused on service delivery excellence across all of our areas of service delivery. And hopefully the community sees that and experiences that on a daily basis. A couple of things to keep note of as we look at future budgets, and any one budget year always has to be seen in a continuum of where we've been and where we're headed. And so our goal is to provide quality, timely, useful budget information this year with Direct CFO Pickle. We have put it all on the website, and you can go right to it. Best we've ever done in terms of pushing it out there. We are focused on commission goals, and we are focused on being an employer of choice, and we should continue those themes year after year. For future budgets, we need to be talking about a capital improvement plan, additional staffing in public works, particularly a stormwater supervisor was just a goal that we could not achieve this year, but still remains a goal. And additional staffing in our fire department, which is a goal we could not achieve this year, but we will need to achieve that in the near term. And in conversation, we have linked that tentatively to the certificate of occupancy on the planned 200-unit developed high-rise apartment complex on Dayton Boulevard. And I use the word high-rise intentionally. A residential high-rise structure is an entirely different animal. High-rise is not a loose term. It's a specific term that means something that's 4 stories or higher. And so we will have to show up ready to put out a fire with our on the first alarm. And so we are cognizant of that future reality and intentional about staffing the agency appropriately when that day comes in the near term. And expanding the tax base by encouraging density and development. That ties back into everything we heard from Director Johnson about changing our land use and zoning and increasing the density. We have been flat at 12,000 residents since the 70s. And the way to get out of having to increase property taxes every now and then is to expand the tax base, and we know that. So we're going to double down on our efforts to expand the tax base. That comes with smaller lots, smaller houses, and I learned a new term, attainable housing. It's not housing that's affordable. Affordable housing is a buzzword. We're not talking about that. So I had to use the term housing that's affordable, but there's a better term of art, and that's attainable housing. Attainable housing, market-based products that are attainable financially by a wider group of buyers. That's what we really need to be focused on here in Red Bank, and they would be welcome neighbors. This is the team that's going to get it done. The bubbles are the departments. Down on the lower left, key partners, individuals, nonprofits, agencies, businesses that have a unique relationship with the city of Red Bank, and really, in military terms, they're force multipliers for the core staff that are in the bubbles. Next slide, please. Stay informed. We have a Facebook, Instagram. We also have a TikTok account. And subscribe to our newsletter. There's a great new article from Commissioner Holmes. Attend a commission meeting first and third Tuesdays, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Grana. It was a very abrupt ending.
Sorry about that.
But very thorough presentation. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor Barry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Wilkinson. Any discussion?
I have a discussion, please.
Yes, Commissioner
Um,
Fairbanks Harvey.
To note, discussion about the 1.5% COLA on May 6th was addressed to possibly increase to 2 point. And the adjustment was made thanks to Commissioner Holmes' input to find monies that would make a difference for the 0.5% for employees. So thank you for that update on May 20th commission meeting. No mention of the 5% tax increase was noted until our first reading on May 20th. The additional revenue takes the property tax line to $5,512,000 and $500. Yes, I voted to approve due to unknowns until later in the summer, July or August, which could alter the percentage. However, the more I contemplated this addition as a tax rate increase, the more concerns I had. The suggested tax rate is a raise for the third in 4 budgeting years in 2021, 23, and today's proposed 25. That was not delivered in either budget meeting 1 or 2. I will add that the padding of the budget is to help reduce fund balance. This should not be on the Red Bank residents' backs. It's on us, the commission. It was suggested that a 2 or 3% rather than a 5, but instead it's 5. Lastly, our residents were not offered any warning to this proposed 5% tax increase. As I noted in my first comment, the increase was introduced with no forewarning to the commissioners until a few days prior, and none with our residents to have their input. At least 50 Red Bank residents have communicated with me since May 22nd. Some I know, and many I have never met. And there were some residents that were fine with it and said it's to be expected. And Director Johnson, I do appreciate your leadership on the capital improvement plan that we will soon get that will help us pace spending. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion or questions? I have Vice Mayor question. Okay.
Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey, would I lead these comments to understand that you are not planning on voting in favor of this budget this evening?
Correct.
Compromises were made in this budget in an effort to reach a 5-0 vote. If that is no longer a possibility, you just presented City Manager Granum about some of our goals that you said, and I quote, could not be achieved this budget. That's not entirely true. We can achieve whatever goals we choose to prioritize. If we don't have Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey's support either way, I would seriously like to revisit adding the stormwater supervisor position. I see that as something that is desperately needed in our city. Again, compromise is, my favorite quote is, when everybody's halfway happy. But if Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey is not halfway happy enough, I'm not either. So I'd hate to delay a vote on this budget, but I would like to hear my colleagues' thoughts on reintroducing the stormwater supervisor position for this budget year.
Looking at me.
Commissioners,
Sorry,
Any
to put you all-
comment?
I'm sorry to put you all on the spot.
No, well, okay, I like the idea and sentiment. What does that look like as far as an investment from the city?
Well, Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey is not supporting a 5% increase. Then I think my presupposition is she similarly would not support the percent increase that would be required to cover the stormwater supervisor position also. I don't know what that exact number would be. It could be 6%, it could be 7%. It's one full-time position. I think the line item was around $80,000 for that position. I think it was around $33,000 a cent.
that will change with the certified.
Oh,
tax
right,
rate.
yeah, but then the certified tax rate's gonna change what a cent gets in terms of dollars. It's hard to say exactly until we have that certified tax rate, what that will mean. So I think the only change that would need to be made would be an amendment to change the anticipated revenue, since a tax rate has not been set in this budget, to increase the anticipated revenue by $80,000 to cover that one position. Would that be accurate, Ms. Pickle and Mr. Granum?
I think that would be accurate enough for the purposes of our budget development. Yes, I think $80,000 is very close to the general fund impact.
Okay, so that would be my proposal, to increase the projected revenue stated in today's budget document by an additional $80,000 to cover that one additional full-time position.
And add in that position to the budget.
would that position need to be explicitly added to the budget? Or we could make an amendment.
We could make it, we do have we do explicitly list the staffing of each department and each division in the budget. And so we would have to change that slightly. And it's actually kind of an indirect thing because the stormwater supervisor is in the stormwater fund, but the actual impact is going to be in the general fund, which is property tax supported. And that's because we are sharing parts of 2 other employees who are fulfilling that requirement. And so we've cost shared between stormwater and general fund. And we went through this in great detail last budget cycle, but it makes our ability to kind of implement it on the fly a little bit of,
It's a domino effect.
it's a domino effect, yes.
Understood.
The impact of the general fund is 80,000, and we would just very simply need to, I think, increase the general fund. It's 2 half FTEs that we need to add to the general fund. And so they currently exist in 2 different divisions, 2 different departments. One is in the community development department. The staffing of the community development department would go up by half an FTE, which is general fund funded. And the staffing in the public works department would go up by half an FTE on their general fund side.
Okay.
And then the stormwater fund would continue to fund the supervisor position, but it would actually be an employee working in the division. If I made any sense with all that?
Yes. Mr. Stolz, if the majority of my colleagues agreed with such an act, would the appropriate method be to withdraw my motion and table this second and final vote for the 17th for a revision?
Would be. yes.
Okay. In that case, I'll withdraw my initial motion.
So I do have a question. So procedurally, what happens, assuming this goes through? Is it 2 additional budget readings or just,
No.
we just review the
postpone the
second?
final reading to the 17th.
And to amend the document internally to actually vote on the paper that you have in front of you.
Makes sense. Commissioner Holmes, Commissioner Wilkinson, any questions?
Yeah, I have to process and think it through and see
Comments?
what that looks like.
Would be,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to estimate when we don't know the.
Right. We would have
CTO.
we would have to give staff the opportunity to revise the budget if that was the desire of, again, the majority of this commission.
So maybe I'll voice my hesitance. The whole process, going back to May and even before, kind of carefully vetted. That I don't love the last minute change up. I do like the idea of having that stormwater position, and I like the idea of it's badly needed. To be frank, it's something that the city really needs terribly. So, yeah, I'm trying to balance that need versus my own personal hesitance.
Well, the stormwater supervisor was something, I believe it was at one point included in an initial early draft of the budget, but was then subsequently withdrawn before the final presentation that we were given in an effort to, reduce the need for use of fund balance. But of course, adjustments to the tax rate also reduce the need for adjustment of fund balance. So it's not that this was something that was, haphazardly thrown in at the end or not seen as necessary. It was a matter of what is the commission and the community's appetite for funding a needed item. And it didn't make the final cut, but it was at the very, very end of that chopping block. And so, if we're if we're not going to be able to come to a 5-0 agreement, I think that our city has the opportunity to make more progress in an area that's badly needed. And it didn't make the top 5 this year because we've made so much progress on that stormwater goal, but it was our top 5 commission goal last year, and we only retired it because of all the headway that we've made. But a stormwater supervisor would only continue that momentum that we've made in serving our community and ensuring that we are making it as safe as possible, especially with this ever increasing rainfall events that we are seeing the last few weeks more than ever.
Literally broke records.
And I think it will continue to do so in the future. Yeah. We only get to choose 5 commission goals. I think we wish we could choose 20 or more. But again, stormwater, maintaining and improving our stormwater infrastructure has been and will continue to be among our top priorities.
Trying to play devil's advocate here. So, this is not a one-time investment either. This is a salaried
Right.
FTE
As is the
position.
tax rate.
Yes.
That would support it. Yep.
Yes. So, it's not just a one-time decision. We're not buying a garbage truck,
Right.
whatever. So that is a consideration. Again, it's badly needed FTE.
And I, no hard feelings to my colleagues if, you don't agree with me that this year is the year to prioritize that. I obviously feel very strongly about it, but I understand if everyone doesn't feel share my sentiments. But I just, I felt the need to, bring this conversation forward, given the opportunity.
I did say, I think at the last meeting, that as a definition for me for heartburn is when nobody is walking away completely happy. And that's when compromise has happened. And that's what we compromised on. And that was what was giving me the greatest heartburn, was having to remove the stormwater supervisor position, because it is desperately needed with these weather events. I just had somebody call me and had ditches that were full on both sides, and so her road was getting flooded out every time it was raining recently. And we have a stream that runs through the entire length of our city, runs under our commercial buildings that are now, what is that called?
Channelized?
No, they are now illegal.
Oh, yeah.
They cannot, and no, what I'm trying to talk about is you cannot build over a water of the state now, a protected water of the state. You could back then. So if these buildings were ever to get flooded out and required over 50% renovation, they couldn't be rebuilt there. That's how being in that floodway works. And so we have, this is a high need in our community. It's our only utility that we operate, that we've operated since 2002, very, very bare bones. I don't even know if there were bones there. So I am, if there's not some higher level of compromise for me, I'm comfortable adding this back into the budget because it was removed from the budget. And supporting whatever needs to happen as far as potential revenue growth to sustain that position. But again, I agree. I was the champion of our stormwater goal for the last 2 years, and I learned a lot more about stormwater than I ever thought I would know in my life. And I've become really passionate about it because after seeing some of the devastating catastrophic floods that have happened in other parts of Tennessee, wiping out towns, people's homes, communities. I don't want that to happen here. So that's why, I think we just have to invest in a service that is needed by our community, whether or not, they have a deep awareness of it or not. That's our duty to our community.
70% of our commercial businesses are at severe risk of flooding. One bad flood could wipe out our commercial zone, which would also wipe out our sales tax base for the city. And again, like the mayor said, many of those businesses would not be permitted to be rebuilt even where they stand. So it's in our economic interest to maintain our stormwater infrastructure to the best of our ability. Of course, you can never guarantee that something won't happen no matter how well you maintain it and improve it. But you know, what is within our power to do, I believe we should do. Our budget is due to the state, Ms. Pickle and Mr. Granum, 1st of July. Is that the deadline?
June 30th.
June 30th. Thank you. So passing this budget on the 17th would it cause any issue for staff if we delayed the vote by one meeting? Okay. So if we were to vote to table it tonight, obviously this wouldn't be a vote on the budget. Everyone would have a fully, 2-week opportunity to consider this before choosing their final vote on the budget at a later date. But of course, staff would need consensus that that is the modification that we wanted to make prior to the final vote.
Any further comments or discussion?
I had something. Okay, so this is what I
Commissioner?
wrote.
Thank
but
you.
It was a couple weeks ago. Okay, it is difficult to navigate, but if we want better, we must step up. People come first and we get what we pay for. Police and fire and public works sometimes putting their life on the line each day. Hopefully in no life loss, but still needs to be paid a fair and competitive wage. In the future, perhaps a schedule or look at what Social Security does each year and commit to that being one of the main factors that influence the COLA going forward. And COLA was part of the budget, 2%, 1.5%. Concerning Social Security and citizens on fixed incomes. I just like how our elders have worked all their lives have to make it on a fixed income. This is a system that was created when people lived to maybe mid-50s or 60s. Now 60 is the new 40, or 40 is the new 60.
I feel that way
I feel
sometimes.
60.
Some people are living into 90 plus years. We all have become trapped in a system that depends on the government, which includes tax-funded services. We are all trapped in some way. However, we have to consider the future as well. For example, do we want our children and grandchildren to pay for like deferred maintenance, like the pool and other things that we've talked about in the budget sessions? To save money now, what will we really be saving? Nothing is getting cheaper, but incremental improvements and changes can and will make life livable for most citizens. And we kind of mentioned compromise that, we all won't be 100% happy. In addition, Red Bank is unique in that we have some control over what we can do and how much we can spend and what we can improve. And I think that's an asset because the size of the city and how it's just, if you go to other places, they're too big or too small to do what Red Bank can do. We could build a Red Bank that other cities seek out and try to model and want to live in and visit. True, it may not be in our lifetimes, but future generations can read these minutes and watch these recordings and think, wow, they did this for us, and hopefully be inspired to do the same for those that will come after them. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
That was well said.
Okay, so
I'm good with tabling.
I need a motion to table ordinance number 25-1281.
Mr. Stolz, do you have anything to add?
No, that's the way it needs to be done. Once a motion is made and seconded, it can't just be
I-
withdrawn.
Oh, I can't withdraw even though
Not
I'm the one that
officially
made the
second.
motion. Okay.
But if this passes, then we don't vote on the
Right.
other.
It doesn't
Okay.
go to vote tonight.
Thank
In that case, I will make a motion to table ordinance.
Number
my computer won't
25-1281.
25-1281, in order to incorporate the addition of a stormwater supervisor position and the corresponding revenue
For further consideration.
for further consideration at our June 17th regular scheduled commission meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Do I have a second?
I will second.
I have a second from Commissioner Wilkinson. Any final discussion before we ask for comments from the residents? Okay. Any comments from the residents present?
I'll make a comment.
You step forward and give your name and address for the record.
Good evening, James Smith. I live on 109 West Daytona. I can see why you guys would have to raise the taxes. I mean, cost of living the way it is, but I think right now they're holding what, a 2.3 for what it looks like annualized increase this year, or inflation.
2.0.
Well, I think the government's saying 2.3 right now, but anyway, I would like to see it held at around 3%. If we need to raise taxes again next year, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. And if y'all need a stormwater guy, if you need to go ahead and jack it up, do it. You don't have to have just go ahead and step up and make the vote. It can't be always unanimous. But I would be for holding it to 3, personally. And another thing I'm concerned with the report that was handed out by this gentleman was this encouraging high density. I'm not against high density people owning homes, but I would like to see where more young people can buy a home, available, not just, like I see all these rental homes being built like up here at the north end of town. I like to see kids be able to, 40-year-olds be able to buy a home nowadays. It seems like we're just pushing everybody to rent it. And, I don't think it's good for the country. I don't think it's good for Red Line. But that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Peggy Road, 3102 Eastern Avenue. I'm going back to some previous meetings that I've been at, and there were some grants or something that was being worked on, and Leslie would know this, about the ditch that goes under the waterway that goes under my building even. And I've not heard anything else about it over the last 2 years, about any grants to help the problems under that ditch, which is in places collapsing. And I would like to know what's going to be done. And you can't fix a problem if you don't fix the problem. In other words, the repairs need to be done. And I know that if I'm right, and you may know this, it has to be done by businesses under the building, not the city. But there was something about some grants, I think a couple of years ago, about help with that. I don't, I'm just going from memory, and I'd like to follow up on that if somebody could let me know.
Thank you, Ms. Rowe.
I can, and we're trying to resource those opportunities as we find them. They are fewer and far between.
Yeah, I figured that, but
Yeah, we continue to filter resources for private property funding.
Thank you, Director. Any further comments from the residents present?
Chad Bullard, 3901 Milwood Drive. I just would like to make a quick comment thanking the commission for their very diligent and thorough look and call outs when necessary. If things are at different times than maybe the expectation was, it continues to show a very responsible outlook that we can trust in as people of the community, that this is something that is being looked at very, very specifically. And also would like to speak to the idea of, once again, the word investment was used that had been mentioned at a couple of meetings ago, and how important it is to stake these claims of investment long-term, even if it represents maybe a capstone of prior focuses, but that is noticed and hopefully is something that potential residents will honor and respect when they're hopefully having the opportunity for housing as they move into the community. So I think as a citizen, I just wanted to say that one more time, I appreciate the approach, which is aggressive investment, aggressive and thorough critical eye to how the money is being spent, but at the same time that the action is put into place, even if it may be not the primary focus, but could have been in prior years' focus, and how important and how impactful and noticed that is in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bullard. Any further comments? Okay, you will have the opportunity potentially you will have the opportunity to give comments at the second vote, should it be deferred to June 17th. If there are no more comments, Ms. Shelton, can you please call the vote?
Probably a simple vote for tabling.
Oh, is it?
Is tabling a simple vote?
Yes,
You know, well, it doesn't.
Doesn't matter.
I don't, majority vote.
majority vote. Okay. All right, we'll do a simple vote then. All those in favor to table this to June 17th? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. So we will have our second and final reading on June 17th at 6 p.m. Moving on to new business, agenda item number 25-887, Vice Mayor Holly Berry nominated as Vice Chair of the Metropolitan Planning Organization, MPO, Executive Board. Mr. Crane.
Thank you, Mayor. This requires no action on the part of the commission, but the intent with the agenda item is to give it visibility at the commission level. And there's a very wonderful backstory. The commission has formally appointed Vice Mayor Berry as our representative to the TPO's executive committee. And also, they appointed Director Greg Tate as our formal representative at the Transportation Coordination Committee, which is sort of a subordinate subject matter expert, and the executive committee is more of the policy setting. And I am the alternate to both on both those. So at a recent meeting, to make a long story short, there was a call went out for nominations for chair of the MPO. And with Vice Mayor Berry's permission, I nominated her, and we just got the email back.
For Vice Chair.
For Vice Chair, yes, Vice Chair. Yes, sorry about that. From the director of the MPO, Melissa Taylor, that she is the heir apparent to that responsibility. So
Most excellent.
Red Bank will have the vice chair of the region's NPO, which has been an epically big thing. All federal transportation dollars come into this region, and it's not just Tennessee, it's North Georgia as well, come through that. We will be well served by our vice mayor.
Very well
Vice
served.
Chair.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations, Vice Mayor. Excellent. Moving on to our final item of business, I need a motion to table agenda item number 25-886, appoint Tiffany Bell to the Red Bank Citizens Nonprofit Advisory Board due to a clerical error. It should be listed as a resolution, not an agenda item, not due to any other reason beyond that. So that will be corrected, and we will be moving it to our June 17th meeting for a vote. Do I have a motion to table?
No motion.
Okay, a motion from Commissioner Holmes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second from Commissioner Fairbanks. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Tabled to June 17th. All right, moving on to citizen comments from Red Bank citizens on items not on the agenda. 3-minute limit. Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the time for citizen comments. Please observe these rules. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and the city reporter will operate a timer visible on the dais. Please respect her direction and conclude any comments if time expires. Comments should be addressed to the board as a whole and not to a particular commissioner, the city staff, or to the audience. The commission is here to listen, not to respond or engage in back and forth, so please do not expect a reply during citizen comment. At this time, citizens are invited to the podium. Please begin by stating your name and address.
Okay. If there are no resident comments, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
I have a motion from Commissioner Wilkinson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second from Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. It always feels so weird to ask for